Hey, 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 what do you say? Welcome to Till Time with Hope and welcome to 2025. This is the first guest for 2025, and it is Rebecca Esparza coming out of Corpus Christi. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you, Hope.
How are you today?
I'm great.
By the way, did you have any New Year's resolution or things that you want to do for this new year?
Continuing something that I started a year ago is having a personal trainer because I'm terrible at trying to do things on my own in the gym. I have no clue of how to pump iron or do anything like that or eat healthy. I need help. Otherwise, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not disciplined. So I still have my personal trainer. I'm still going to continue going to personal trainer once a week. And I'm determined to get healthier.
Awesome. A fitter, healthier Rebecca.
Yes.
I love it, and I follow suit with that because I started right before New Year's. I joined the YMCA. I decided to start getting back into to the workout routine. Just getting stronger, healthier, fitter, because it's just great for your mind and great for your body.
You said the key word routine. Get
Mm.
a routine down. Once
That's
it
the plan.
becomes a habit, it's like you miss it and you're like, wait a minute, I need to go to the gym. I need to go walk. I need to go do something. I'm slowly getting to that point where it's now a routine and I miss it if I don't get it.
Good. It's our new addiction. I like it. I like it. If I lived closer to you, Rebecca, I would scream at you. I would yell at you. I know how to pump iron. I would be your drill sergeant.
Oh, I would love that. I wish you
But unfortunately, I don't live
would.
very close to Corpus
No,
Christi. But
no.
that's great that we're both on that trajectory of getting
Yes.
healthier and fit. And audience, we just realized that we are very similar. I'm very close in age,
Yeah.
actually. We're both like in our early 20s. So, we're so young. In my heart, I act like I'm probably
I
13.
totally act like I'm 17, 16. And I'm like,
Oh yeah. It's that's key, y'all. That is key to
totally.
just, embracing life and never growing up completely.
Totally, but my body has not gotten that memo.
My body's like, excusez-moi. You better hit that gym, girlfriend. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. And so, again, audience, this is Rebecca Esparza coming out of Corpus Christi, and she is a survivor of ovarian cancer. That's the first, and she'll get more into her story. That's the actual first cancer that she went through way back in 2001, and then she had a secondary cancer. I believe it was thyroid, correct?
Correct.
And so she is somebody that I think highly of. I've kept up with her on social media and I watch the advocacy that she continues to be a part of in her story of survivorship. And she's been in remission for over 15 years. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And I'm inspired by her like I'm inspired by all the people that are out there. And I just wanted to bring her on to the podcast and let her share her story of survivorship, determination, faith, hope, all of those amazing things that I feel like she's about. And she was very nice to honor me to be the first guest of 2025. With that said, I will let Rebecca share her story that goes way back to 2001. And the floor is all yours, Rebecca.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, in 2001, I started doing freelance work. And when my doctor first said, hey, I think you need to have exploratory surgery, I'd had two previous surgeries to remove fibroid tumors, and I thought they were fibroid tumors again. He said, I saw you in April and you didn't have anything, and now it's September and it looks like you're like 12 weeks pregnant. It was pretty poochy tummy. And I was really fit. I was, doing step aerobics. I was running. I was really, really fit, but I still had this poochy looking stomach. And I was a freelancer and I had a bunch of freelance work. And I said, well, I can't do it right now in September. How about Thanksgiving time frame? Because it's a slow time for me. He said, sure, let's do it in Thanksgiving. So I woke up from my surgery on Thanksgiving Day with my parents weeping at my bedside, holding each other up at the end of my bed. And I thought, this is not good. And slowly, over the course of the next few days, they told me a little bit more. They had to do a radical hysterectomy. I would never have children. I didn't get the chance. I missed that opportunity, and it was ovarian cancer.
And you were 30 at this time.
I was 30 years
It's
old. Yeah,
young.
very, very young.
Real quick, I wanted to ask, and I forgot to ask you when we were talking before the recording, does ovarian cancer run in your family?
No,
No history of it?
no, none that is anything genetically, any genetic ties. Now, I say that, but I recently had a first cousin die of ovarian cancer, and she was a little bit older than me. But that just happened within the last year. But no grandmother, no familial, like, first cousin is a little bit removed in the genetics world.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, there was
still,
nobody in my family as well. And so being so young as well, and this was 2001, so compared to what we have today, had you ever heard of ovarian cancer?
not really. I mean, what limited things I had heard, it was older ladies that got it. So I refused to believe in the beginning, especially when my doctor had that conversation with me in September. He said, I have a fear that it's ovarian cancer, but I don't know for sure until we open you up for surgery. And I just laughed at him. I was like, ovarian cancer? That's for the old lady. When you're 30, you think anybody beyond 35 is old. That's for old age. So when you're 30, you think, you're invincible, you're young, you're always the youngest person anywhere you go, especially for work, and you thrive on that. Anybody older than 35, pushing 40, that's old. So that was my perspective as a 30-year-old. And I just totally did not believe it. And that's why I put off the surgery to, several months, knowing what I know now. I would have jumped on that surgery, have the surgery as soon as possible, but I had no clue. And I wish my doctor had kind of pushed it with me.
I do think that it's that lack of advocacy that wasn't around, right? That nobody had ever told you their story. Hence the reason we need to keep talking about it now.
Number one, we didn't have social media.
Very
Number
true.
two, Google was in its infancy. You could search stuff on the internet, but it was very limited. And the only support I really found was American Cancer Society, and there was an online group called ACOR that had different cancers where it was like a just online based internet group where you could talk to other ovarian cancer survivors. That was it for support. There was nothing else out there.
I really think that that was important that you brought up because you don't really think about what? There was no social media, there was no techno I mean, what we have right after that, what came after that is what opened the door for a lot of this more opportunities for advocacy, but in 2001, you don't really think, you're like, "Wait, you're right." I mean, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have any of this, and we
Uh-uh.
barely had emails and things like that nature.
Barely. Yeah.
Barely. So how would you really hear unless somebody actually went to your work or your college or something like that, or somebody in the family? So that knowledge, right? Knowledge is power, but how can you get that knowledge if there's no ways of receiving it? So that's a really good point, and also what drives us, I believe, to now use what we have to spread that awareness. Um,
Absolutely, and learn more.
learn
I'm
more for
always learning about different cancers now and the latest and greatest research and, what we're finding out now about, the links of, even alcohol, is causing cancers, different types of cancers, and, they're learning so much more now, than ever before.
And we
And
have access to it like never before, and
exactly.
that's the blessing now, right? But going back to 2001 and the shock that you were in
Yeah.
of like, "Wait." Yeah, and that's the misnomer, if you will, like, people think even today, people think in their 20s and 30s, those are for old people, right?
Yeah.
That's what happens to people that are over 40, which is what
Yeah.
they think old is, and we're like, "We're in our
Yeah.
50s," and we're like, "Slow down, we're not old." But yeah, and it's like I think we're kind of naive to that. Even me, I was 40 and I was just like, "What? Like, what is ovarian cancer? And what?"
Yeah.
So for you to be so young and
Yeah.
it was hard. It's hard at 40 to be told you're not gonna be able to have kids, even if you didn't want it. It's that it was just taken from you, right? But
Right.
to be 30 and you were engaged at that time, correct?
And I wanted children.
Right.
What I had planned was to have my career set so that way I wouldn't have to like beg, borrow, and steal to raise children. I wanted to have my career set and then start having kids, but that choice was taken out of my hands because the surgeon said, in order to save my life, he had to remove everything. Now, nowadays, they do not do that. They do not, in a healthy, otherwise healthy 30-year-old who has not had children, they do not take everything out.
Even if it's late stage, because you were diagnosed late stage.
I was diagnosed at 2B, so it had only spread to that local area. One ovary was still intact. But I mean, at the time, I didn't argue with the surgeon, and too much time has passed. I've had several medical professionals tell me along the way that I should have, sought some sort of action against having that done to me. But at the end of the day, I can't argue when somebody says that they tried to save my life. I
Right.
mean,
Absolutely. Well, that's the priority. And now when I read one of your articles, and for the audience, I will leave the links to stories about Rebecca, with this podcast in the details, so y'all can read some amazing articles that were written about her. But in one of them, I read that is it did I read it correctly that you had some was it fibroids? Did you have something before?
yes, I'd had 3 surgeries to remove fibroid tumors in the 12 years before. So I
12
started having fibroid tumors around 18, 19.
and does that not run in the family as well?
Um, somewhat, but not to the extent that I had it. I had
Really?
I had the first one was laparoscopically, and the next 2 were open surgeries.
Like the laser removal?
Back in 2000,
Oh,
no, back in 1994, I had a laparoscopic where they went into
mm,
the belly,
okay.
and but
That's
then
young.
yeah,
That's young.
and then 2000, 2 consequential surgeries where they had to actually open me up, and I had extensive endometriosis and um, fibroid tumors.
Have you concluded anything, like there's a connection with bad periods? And just even if we I mean,
Yes,
just from your opinion or your experience, do you
I've
think
read
there's some
studies.
have
Yes.
you? Yeah.
Also, girls that start their period early, and I was 10 when I started my period. So
Were
they've
you
done
really? That's
with,
very young.
with young girls that start their periods early have more fibroid tumor and possibly more GYN issues as they get older.
Which it could also eventually could be a causation, if you will, or a
Could
nexus
be,
to ovarian
could
cancer or
be.
gynecological cancers?
Could be, but mine is a very rare type of ovarian called germ cell, which is akin to testicular cancer in men. And I've been told that the germ cell cancer is acts much, much differently than your regular types of ovarian cancer. Germ cell cancer is more like an embryonic thing. Like when I was conceived, not all cells in my body decided to form into something, and some of those stagnant cells that decided that they weren't going to be anything, one day they just woke up and decided, let's form into cancer. That's a very basic way that one of the doctors tried to explain it to me, was
Well, I
that.
like the basic form.
Yeah, me too. I am not a medical doctor. I don't plan to be. I don't even want to play one on TV. To be
Yeah, I would I've turned down those rules. I've turned down those
me
rules.
too.
Uh, no, but seriously, I've heard a lot about germ cell, and I never really kind of understood it, and when I would try to read about it, I was like, "Oh, my brain understood that." Yeah.
It's formed when what, again, very layman's terms, it kind of started when I was conceived.
Okay. And so, thank you for that, and I was gonna say, that you said initially it was 2B, right?
Yes.
And then
At
how did it
surgery, it was 2B, but that was on Thanksgiving Day. I didn't have health insurance because I was a freelancer and I separated from my employer without taking Cobra. Back then, we had pre-existing conditions. So as a freelancer, I tried to get insurance on my own, and the insurance company saw that I had 3 previous surgeries to remove fibroid tumors, and they said, "Okay, we'll cover you, but nothing GYN related."
I just
Why
think
would
it's
I get
horrible.
in why would I get insurance if you weren't gonna cover anything GYN related? So, I decided not to get insurance because it was gonna be pretty expensive. Not as expensive as Cobra, but it was gonna be expensive. So I decided, "Okay, I'm not gonna do it." And lo and behold, a few months after that,
You basically couldn't get the insurance because there was pre-existing conditions, and they were like, "Hey, we're not gonna cover you."
exactly. So I decided not to get health insurance. 4 months later, I'm diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Was it 4 months?
Yeah, just a
Wow,
few
that
months,
was
4 or 5 months later, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
so
So
what did
then
like, I mean, going into serious I mean, this wasn't just like a broken foot. This was like,
yeah,
a
life-threatening.
life-changing event. What did you have to do? How did you get through it?
I went to several different healthcare systems trying to find out, "Hey, I have this diagnosis. Can you start chemo?" And they're like, "Sure. Do you have $10,000 as a down payment for your chemo?" I'm like, "No." "Okay, we can't help you." So door after door after door got shut until I have family friend told me about indigent care, and I applied for it, and I found out that you have to basically have nothing coming in to get 100% coverage. You can't work at all, nothing. So that's what I did. I dropped all my freelancing. If you look at my tax records, there were 2 solid years where I didn't file anything. The 2001, 2002, nothing, because you can't have anything come in and still qualify for indigent care. But they saved my life. I was terrified when I first found out that that was the only way I was going to get treatment. I had it in my mind that indigent care was going to be substandard care. They saved my life. I'm still here because of indigent care. So I'm like the poster child of indigent care saves lives.
I didn't know anything about that until you brought it up, and I mean, it's unfortunate that you had to go that route in a first world country like we have, and I know that's a longer separate subject
Sure.
about our healthcare system, but
Yeah.
it's just so unfortunate when you're having to go through something that could literally you can die from, and, you're having to go that route, and
Yep.
you also said that you had to pay for some stuff out of your own pocket at the beginning.
The cancer surgery itself, the hospital, the doctor waived his fees. He talked to anesthesiologists, they waived their fees. Or the surgeon and the anesthesiologist waived their fees, but I still had about a 10-day hospital stay to pay for.
That's not
And
cheap.
no, no,
So your
and that's
savings just
the 401k that I had built for 5 years with my previous employer was all gone.
oh,
Paid for that surgery. And then by the time I found out about indigent care, applied, you don't get seen right away. You have to wait a couple of weeks. I got my Metaport in, I think the first or second week in January, started chemo immediately. By the time I got my first CT scan on the 1st of February, it had spread to the lining of my stomach and my peritoneum.
it's because it spread, that's when it went into did it go into stage 4 by that point?
Yes, it was actually the lining of my stomach and the liver. They
Mm,
found something in my liver. So it was much harder to treat. The doctor started talking about stem cell replacement, maybe perhaps going to MD Anderson for some more intense treatment, things like that. And, you
did they
know,
put you on hospice? Did they think you were gonna
no, no. But I did have a social worker come to talk to me about applying for Social Security benefits. She said, I know that you're on indigent care. So if you get on Social Security, your family will get death benefits. So that way they could bury you. And I was like, excuse me? What? What are we talking about here? Why are we talking about this? Who
like, "Who's
are
talking about dying? What the heck?"
you? And the worst part about it, she was like 19 years, she looked 19 or 20 years old. She looked super young. And she was very matter of fact,
Mm,
textbook
no
like,
bedside manner kind of a
no
thing.
bedside manner at all. Like she was like a robot. Like I was talking to a robot. And I was just like, why are you here? Why are you bothering me? Why are you trying to bring me down? All I could think
Right.
about was, I am not just a statistic. You
Mm,
know, yes, it looks bad, but who says I have to be on the bad end of the statistics?
that's so right. It's that mindset, that mentality of like, I'm gonna fight this horrible disease and talk to me when not fighting anymore, but I'm fighting, you know?
Exactly. That's when I learned right away that I had zero tolerance for anybody speaking any kind of negativity around me.
That's so important too, and you talked about that, like, and I've talked about it, like, sometimes when you're going through something horrible like that, people, they just disappear because they don't know how to handle it. Maybe that would probably be for the best if they couldn't bring in positivity and optimism to the table.
True. True, but it's no less hurtful.
Yes.
Uh,
100%.
it was devastating to me to have childhood friends that I don't talk to anymore ever since cancer.
It's an enigma, Rebecca. I don't know why, people can't put their fear or their worry or whatever that's going on to the side and focus on the person who needs, the people in their corner to help them get through this horrible thing. While at the same time, we know it happens. Partners leave their loved ones, family walk away, friends walk away, but it's the ones who stay.
Yeah,
And you have had those
yeah,
from the person you ended up marrying to your mom and
yeah.
dad, and that tribe might have been small, but it was a
It was
tight tribe.
mighty. It was
Yes.
mighty. It was a
Mm.
mighty tribe.
Small and mighty, I love it.
Oh my gosh. I remember going into the Cancer Society one time for a support group, and I had my mom, my dad, my fiance, my sister, her husband, my cousin, 6 or 7 people walk in with me, and they were like everybody was like, "What the hell?"
You're like, "You do not know, we come in a package."
It's
Uh,
awesome. It was so awesome. I'll never forget that.
that's
It was
wonderful, and I wanted to ask just real quick, like, did you feel like you needed the to go to, like, a support group? Did that help you? Because I know some
yes.
people are kind of skeptical of I didn't. For me, I didn't, but I know some people really got something great out of those.
I found it extremely helpful. I learned so much from other people's stories and how they dealt with stuff.
That gave you that kind of encouragement.
Did. It
That's
really did.
wonderful.
It
I
really did. It made
I do hear good things about a lot of them.
they're not for everybody. I get
Yeah.
that. But Robert, my husband and I, we were so thankful for the support group help that we got when I was going through it that we decided to form one after I was in remission from the ovarian, and we did that for about 12 years.
Did you really?
Yeah.
There's good that comes from bad.
Yep. A
I didn't
general
actually know that. That's awesome.
we started a general cancer support group because Corpus Christi is a pretty small town. And back in 2001, the only support group available was a prostate group and a breast cancer group. Even though the prostate guys were very kind and said, "You are more than welcome to come to our group," I was like, hey, no, thank you. And the breast ladies were like, "Come on over." And I'm like, breast, ovarian, not the same, but
You're like,
thank you.
"Where's the gynecological one?" Or
There was not,
mm,
and we didn't form a GYN one, because there's just
not enough. Yeah.
more of a need for a general cancer support group. So that's what we
Which
started,
makes sense. Which
a
makes
general
sense.
support
Yeah.
group for anybody, regardless of diagnosis, regardless where you get treatment. The American Cancer Society was kind enough to host us for 12 straight years. Pretty amazing. And we did some wonderful things with it, but it got to the point where we were just completely burned out.
It's
Um,
overwhelming, I would think after a while.
it was overwhelming. We lost so many people, and they became friends because they would
Mm.
come time after time. Or I guess we were monthly, so we'd see them month after month. We'd even have a big Christmas party, and we just got to know them as extended family. And after 12 years, we're just like, you know what? I think our time is done.
Right, I mean, you made your mark. I mean, 12 years is a long time, and I think there are probably people, if not their family members, that are very grateful that y'all did that, and you were inspired to do that post,
Yes,
your treatment, and
yes,
so that's brilliant. I'm glad you did that.
yeah.
So going on to the second, cancer real quick, how did that come about?
Well, we were at a Relay for Life event. We love relays. We I was one of something called a Hero of Hope, where they would have me speak at different relays across the state, basically. And I was at one at Alice, Texas, which is actually my mom's hometown. It was during the Luminaria ceremony when they make the whole stadium dark. It's an outdoor event, and usually at a stadium where you walk the track all night because cancer never sleeps, and neither do we. So that's their theme. But it was all dark, and I tripped over a stake in the ground from a tent, and I passed out, and
Oh,
I hit
no.
my head, and I woke up in traction with EMTs cutting my hoodie that I was wearing. I had just bought that hoodie. I love that hoodie. I had just bought it.
To
They were
this day,
cutting.
she's like, "What?"
What are you doing? And they took me in traction to the hospital, did a CT scan, had CT scan, and the way that they did it, they saw some nodules in my thyroid. The nurse, as a happenstance, just as an aside, she printed out thyroid cancer stuff for me from WebMD and said, "You might want to go get checked out from your doctor. I saw some nodules." Asked my doctor. Doctor says, "Oh, everybody's walking around with 95% of the population's walking around with nodules in their thyroid, and it's nothing. But if it makes you feel better, we'll do a fine needle aspiration." And we did a fine needle aspiration, and it was papillary thyroid cancer.
I
And
just Yeah, if it makes you feel better, yeah, it would. I did have cancer. There's a thing called, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm so glad that you didn't just put it off, that you didn't just go whatever.
immediately, immediately, they sent it to me digitally, and I was able to email my doctor, and she saw it, and she's like, "Let's go ahead and do it." And yeah, they did a fine needle aspiration on three of them, and all three of them came back with papillary thyroid cancer. Had the surgery about 6 months later because thyroid cancer is very slow growing. They didn't see an urgency to do it right away. It was a left neck dissection, and they took out 50 lymph nodes out of my neck and the whole thyroid and a couple of parathyroids, which I had no idea what a parathyroid was before my cancer surgery. Parathyroids regulate the calcium in your body. So they took out two of those. Now I have to take calcium every day, supplements. Otherwise, I get low calcium, and that's not a good thing if you don't have enough calcium in your body.
Mm,
So the things you learn with cancer.
mm. Knowledge,
Yeah.
all the
Yes,
knowledge that you gain and all of
yes,
that.
yes.
And so
Um,
you're a miracle in a lot of ways because I'm fascinated by this part right here, because you had the surgery, and then what happened?
had the surgery 6 months later, and then they said, "Well, wait another 4 or 5 months." Actually, let me back it up. Had the surgery, we will wait 4 or 5 months to find out how much radiation we're going to give you. And it's radioactive iodine, and it's a pill that you swallow. I was terrified of getting this because there are so many side effects. Lose your salivary glands. I mean, there's all sorts of things. You have to be quarantined for several days. Anything you use, anything you touch has to be thrown away. Your family can't see you but through a glass window. I was just so terrified of having this done, and I was not looking forward to it. You have to go on this low iodine diet 2 weeks before, so that way it'll have better uptake into your system. So I followed that diet. It was really strict, and it was around Thanksgiving. I don't know what it is about Thanksgiving, but it was around Thanksgiving, and I couldn't have all the fun, delicious things that everybody else was having. So then I go in and have the scan, and it's a full body scan, and it scans your entire body really, really slow. After I had that done, it was going through going over my face. It was super close. And I'm claustrophobic because of that scan. Anyway, finish it. The doctor says, "Guess what? We did that scan to find out how much cancer was left in your body, and there's nothing to scan, there's nothing to radiate."
So that's just
That's
amazing,
great.
Rebecca.
You don't need to have the radiation. And I left that doctor's office at MD Anderson floating out of the office. I felt like everybody's prayers, they were just, I absorbed them
Yeah.
somehow.
No, I mean, and that's I always say prayer is power.
Yeah.
I do
I,
believe in prayer. And here
I,
you are. I mean, come on, Rebecca.
yeah,
It went in 2001, and then what was it, 2008 for the second one?
second one. And then in 2015, they thought I had colon cancer.
Right.
So I did a 12-hour surgery at MD Anderson. Because they tried to do a colonoscopy a couple of months earlier and they couldn't run the scope through. So then they do exploratory surgery to find out what was going on. Ends up that I had this huge mass all throughout my intestines, and it had strangulated my left ureter that goes to the left kidney, made the left kidney quit working because apparently, if you're not using it, your body thinks, "Oh, this is not necessary. We're just going to shut down." So now I only have one kidney. They had to redirect that ureter directly to the bladder, take out about a good foot or two of lower intestine, and do margins because they thought it was cancer. When I'm in the hospital recovering, I would have doctors come in and say, "We don't know what type of colon cancer. We're not sure what type of chemo you're going to get. But once we get the biopsy back, we'll know for sure how we're going to treat your cancer." Okay, okay. I was really depressed, obviously. Third cancer,
Mm,
super upset. And come to find out, 2 weeks later, it was not cancer. It
wow.
was it was fibrous tumor, fibrous adhesions that had grown this huge mass in along my intestines.
I love those that work in the medical field. I love what they do, and I love people that go into the medical field, but there's so much that we still, like, don't tell a patient something when you don't have a definitive actual statement to give them that, that is 100% true, right? Don't, it's like conjecture, right? Like, don't tell me that it's cancer and then I find out it's not cancer because your mind just starts going here and there and everywhere.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that it didn't turn out to be
yeah,
that.
yes, I'm very thankful for that. And then fast forward to earlier this year, they found a suspicious melanoma on my right pinky toe. Of all things, what the heck? It's just, yeah, you can get cancer just about anywhere.
No, you can get it anywhere, but
But
yeah.
my dermatologist in MD Anderson, they look at you from head to toe, and she saw this on my right pinky toe and said, "We should send this off for biopsy." So they did a biopsy, even took out the nail bed, and when I called, nobody would call me with the results. When I called for the results, this is what I got. "Oh, the doctor has to talk to you about your treatment plan." I'm like, "What the heck? Treatment plan?" Oh my gosh. I was in tears for a
Mm.
good hour until I finally heard back from the doctor's office, and the nurse says, "Oh, it's good. The doctor didn't even need to talk to you. Everything's good." I'm like,
You're
"What
freaking
the
kidding me.
heck?
And that was
Why?"
2024?
Yes. Why would you tell somebody calling about biopsy results, the doctor has to talk to you about your treatment plan? "Oh, I see you." I could hear her clicking on the computer. "Oh, I see it right here. The biopsy results came back, but the doctor has to talk to you about your treatment plan."
And
I said,
it turned out to be not.
it turned out to be nothing.
Mm, mm-mm.
So we still have a long way to go.
Yes, absolutely, and, going into some of the things that you volunteer for. First of all, though, I wanted to say, I'm just so blessed to know you and that you've continued to thrive in this survivorship, and that those 2 those 2 things that, were like, "Oh, it's cancer," and then it's not cancer. "Oh, it's cancer," and it's not cancer. I'm just so
Yeah.
glad that they turned out to not
Yes.
be.
Thank you.
But, it also goes into some of the things you have done with passing on your experiences and how
Sure.
they can learn.
Absolutely. I'm the case study for many times for how not to talk to patients.
What are some of the things now that you've continued to do? I know we can never ignore the fact that after cancer, it's not just hunky dory and we go on and we're super awesome and back to our normal self. We will always change, and you touched on that in the articles as well. It's like
Sure.
you have side effects that post cancer. What are some of the things that you've continued even 20 years later to deal with?
I still have neuropathy in my arms and my legs, joint pain, chronic fatigue, things like that that make it difficult for moving around, or if I'm sitting down for a long period of time. I call it the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz. Oil can,
Yeah,
everything's all stuck
creaking.
and
Yeah.
frozen, and but I try to laugh at it like that.
Right. Like, don't
Well,
let it it's not what's gonna keep you because 'cause you're obviously not being kept down. I mean,
no,
you are a very busy woman, and
very
even going into fitness and things like
good.
that, you obviously have never let any of this, and I love that about you too.
I have good days and bad
Of
days,
course.
and everybody does. The key is to not stay down.
Yeah. To not
Get
stay
back
in
up.
it, right? Not to stay and dwell in that place of down, and I I concur 100% because there's that mental part of that we need to do more talking about. We know what physically can go on with our bodies after, but there is that also that mental aspect of even some have research about PTSD after going through cancer and
I
right,
have PTSD as well. Yes, I do.
depression,
Yeah,
anxiety,
I
things
have
of that
anxiety.
nature. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I do. I have mild depression and I have anxiety, and I wouldn't doubt I have PTSD. You know, you've gone through it, I've gone through it 3
yeah.
times, and it is something that we need to talk about, and like you said, but it's like it's not wrong, it's not bad, it's part
No,
of the journey,
it
and
is.
it's to deny it is like, let's not deny it, but let's not sit in it at the same time, I feel.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And there's always hope.
Yeah.
There is always hope.
There's always hope, not just hope with Till Time with Hope, but there is that giant HOPE, and I heard that the more we talk about it, right, that's why we advocate, that's why we have supports groups, and
Exactly.
that we have their Facebook groups, and we
Yep.
have the conferences that I hope we'll eventually get back to, is that when we, surround ourselves with people who know what it's like to go through this valley, right, that have gone through it themselves or have lost a loved one through it, it really helps to it encourages us, it inspires us, it motivates us, and I think that is part of the survivorship is surrounding yourself with positive, optimistic, people that are optimistic and people who are just wanting to remember that there's always something to be grateful for, and there's
Absolutely.
always somebody that has it worse. Always. You do that too.
Absolutely.
You see that. You've seen it not just in your advocacy, Rebecca, but you work with kids with the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yes. Mhm.
You've you've met people in their survivor advocacy for ovarian cancer and
Mhm.
who have had it worse than you and I, right? And it's perspective, I think, that helps.
At this point, with over 20 years of advocacy, I've lost probably at least 200 friends.
Mm,
At least. I've
mm.
stopped counting.
It's
Uh,
hard.
I just couldn't count anymore. I would have a
Wow.
running list, so I would say prayers for the ones that we've lost, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep a list anymore because it just got too long and it was too heartbreaking to see.
It is, I think for me, it's like hard, so hard on the heart that we continue to live, right? And I've talked about that, like we continue to live while so many still get diagnosed and don't get to live. And it's torn between being grateful and also being sad. And but then what can we do with that sadness? And that's continuing to speak about it and in the hopes that we can help save lives.
I'm glad you brought that up. I used to have survivor's guilt.
Mm.
But I realized that at the end of the day, that really didn't honor our friends in the best way.
Yeah,
We didn't
it's
want
it's
that.
I think acknowledging that you have it and
Yeah.
acknowledging that it can be there and it may creep in from time to time, but also not, again, sitting in it. And
Right.
what can I do with this survivor's guilt? Yes, it's there and it creeps in, but what can I do to turn it around to honor those people? And I like the way you said that, to honor the people because they would want us to not dwell in it.
What I've had a advocacy friend of mine tell me when I back many years ago when I had survivor's guilt really, really bad. She said, "Our friends would not want this for us.
Mm.
It's not honoring their memory to do this."
And that's by speaking
Exactly.
up, speaking out, sharing our
Going to the
stories.
hill, going to the hill and
Oh,
sharing.
yeah, you've gone to the hill. I've only done it once, and maybe
Yes.
that's when we met. I'm thinking that might have been the year that we met because I went to the hill, and you're
Yes.
from Texas, and I'm from
Yes.
Texas. Ah,
But it
audience,
was
just know we couldn't figure
still
out exactly when we met, but we knew we met in person.
yes, it was still an OCRA conference.
Yes,
But it
it
was
was.
a year that the conference attendees could opt in to going to the hill.
Yes, that was an amazing experience and one I'll never forget, and we
It
got that money, you know?
did.
What would you, what would you wanna give as a piece of advice to people out there um, who may not know, how to make a difference and how to advocate or what to know about their bodies? Is there any pearls of wisdom, Rebecca, that you'd like to kind of share with the audience?
Um, get connected with an organization like the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance if you're in the GYN space. If you have another type of GYN cancer, there's always a Society for Gynecological Oncology. SGO is also the acronym for that. They can steer you in the right direction for advocacy opportunities. You could also reach out to me. I could mentor or give advice.
And I
Um,
will make sure to put a link to
in profile for
yeah,
sure.
LinkedIn profile would be perfect if yeah, I'll put
Yeah.
that link on there for y'all. What about pearls of wisdom as far as knowing your body and advocating for yourself if you find yourself or somebody that you love and know going through cancer, especially if it's ovarian, because that's our experience.
I value our medical professionals, and I've seen more often than not better medical professionals than not good ones,
Mhm.
thankfully. However, these medical professionals are overworked, understaffed, many times underpaid if you're going to like a state funded hospital or things like that. And you have to remember that they're having to see patients, like treat them and street them. Like for an 8-hour day, they're probably seeing 100 patients a day. And you are your best advocate. If they're seeing 100 patients a day, that's a lot of people to keep up with. You are only one person to keep up with.
Absolutely.
So you need to be your own best advocate. Write down your notes after every visit. Sometimes when I was going through ovarian, I had to remind my doctor that no, my tumor marker is not 47. It's actually 27. And she was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I was looking at the numbers from last month. Okay, it's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. And I write things down.
Oh, that's great
Uh,
advice. That's great advice.
yeah.
I had my doctor one time go, "So, we're doing your chemo today, right?" I'm like, "No, I'm stopped chemo. I'm just here for a checkup."
Yeah, I know. We have to keep them on task because they have so much going on. They have their private lives and they have maybe some drama at home, or they're not 100% there in the office. They're thinking about their sick mom back in their home country or whatever it is. And we just
Right.
have to, we're all human. They're
Mhm.
human. I used to put them up on this, really high pedestal as far as, oh, they're so much better than me. They're so much more learned. It Having a serious disease makes the playing field level, in my opinion, because I have that experience, that lived experience. I may not have the book knowledge, but I have what I know to be true as far as what I've experienced having these diseases.
Right. So be your
So,
own make sure to be your own advocate. I mean, look what
absolutely.
you had to say, "Yeah, of course I want to, check this out." And other guests have said, "Yeah, like, okay, what you're saying is no. Second opinions are good. Questioning, writing down notes, just, you are your biggest supporter and advocate." And I wished I would have wrote notes down too. And by the way, if you're being told that you could possibly have cancer, your mind is all over the place. And so also, would you advise or recommend that people have somebody next to them that could also help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Robert would come in with me for appointments during the ovarian, and my doctor would get really, really perturbed by him because he would ask a ton of questions. He would question her on stuff. Now, why are you doing it this way? And why are you doing it that way? And why not this way? Because I read online, blah, blah, blah. And she would just like roll her eyes at him. And I was embarrassed. I was young. Remember, I was 30.
Yeah.
So I was embarrassed that he was asking all these questions. Plus, it's also a little bit of a Hispanic thing. I was
Mm,
raised to put the doctors up elevated high. They're smarter than me. They know a lot more than me. I trust them 1,000%. And Robert, thank God I had him by my side. He was trusting but verified.
right. And that
And
it's
I didn't believe in that back then. I
right.
was
I
like,
mean,
no,
you were 30. You're like, there was so much you didn't even know about life yet. So you needed that. And I think and plus you're also your mind is like I said, our mind is going it's almost like the Charlie Brown where we're just not really hearing anything. It's just we're just stuck on the fact that this is cancer. And so
plus, add the fact that I was on indigent care. I didn't wanna
mm,
get anybody upset.
mhm. That's true. That's a good point. But I'm
I
so bravo to Robert. for being, an advocate for you too, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
He taught me a
and
lot about standing up for myself.
yeah, and that's kind of what we wanna let people know, stand up for yourself. If something doesn't feel right, ask. Same for your body, right? Like, when you and I forgot to ask, like, when you were starting to feel something was wrong way back when, what was the turning point? Mine was that I got so big, I looked 9 months pregnant, and I couldn't even laugh, and it
Oh,
was almost too late. What was yours?
waking up in the middle of the night with shooting, stabbing pains in my abdomen, and then having the ER. I went to the ER, straight to the ER. I couldn't stand the pain, and they just gave me pain meds and said, "Follow up with your psychiatrist."
I just can't fathom if somebody would have said that to me. I'd have been like, "Oh, no. This is not because we're women. Oh, well, it's got to be psychological. You're a woman, so just follow up with a psychiatrist. Holy cow, that
Yeah. So then at that point, a month later, 9/11 happened. We were in DC. I was freaked out, freaked out. You were talking about a little small town girl
right?
that was within miles of the Pentagon
Oh
and
yes,
ground zero. It was just awful. I decided to follow up with my GYN that had done my previous GYN surgeries. And he's the one that told me I'm really concerned. And that raised some flags for me. And I was like, I consented to the surgery, but I wish I had done the surgery sooner.
right. Yeah, and if you would have maybe listened to your body more, is there something about that? Because that's what I say about me. I wish I would have listened to my body. My body was screaming. It shouldn't have been screaming. It was talking. Then it
It
turned into
wasn't
screaming.
it wasn't that bad. April I was fine. So it happened in a really short amount of time.
Mm,
It wasn't until August that I really started feeling weird.
mhm.
And then I decided to see the doctor. If I hadn't listened, I would not be sitting here today.
Yeah,
If I
definitely.
hadn't listened, there was just no way.
The fact that I didn't listen and I came in so late is kind of the phenomenon of Hope Aguilar and how I'm still here because most cases don't have that end
Yeah,
result. So I'm glad that you did, even being so young to be 30 and be like, something's not right.
exactly. And that's where your faith comes in. My faith
Mm,
comes in.
yeah.
I felt like something was telling me. I felt. Now I believe it to be a little sign from God that hey, I want you to go get checked out. And then when the doctor said in September, I'm concerned, then I took that seriously, but not seriously enough to have the surgery right away.
It's also our part to actually make action of it.
Absolutely.
Because
God
I
told
think
me
God was telling me like, "Hello, you
yeah,
something's going on with your body," and knock, knock, and I was like, "Whatever, I don't hear anything." I'm
yeah,
in denial because denial comes in, and I think that's
yeah,
part of it. I'm glad that you didn't have that denial and that you went forward with it,
I did.
and I'm
Yeah.
sorry that, that it was so young for you, and I'm not sorry and when I say sorry, I don't mean it as in a pity
Sure.
thing. I
No,
always
no,
tell
no.
people, I'm
No.
saying but my mom used to say, God rest her soul, she used to say, "What the devil does for bad, God does for good." And the bad, there can be good from that, and you have
Oh,
shown that you have turned something so bad as insidious disease of ovarian cancer and done some amazing continue to do amazing work with advocacy, Rebecca, and with a Make-A-Wish for the children, and I'm just, honored to know you, and I'm so
aw,
grateful for you.
thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you very much for your kind words.
no,
That
they're right in the
I
heart.
I believe that's kept me alive. Turning the awful, sour lemons life has handed me into some bittersweet lemonade.
Yeah, and maybe some margaritas on the side.
Absolutely, a little bit of
What?
mixed
Nah, that's just a joke for you non-drinkers. But no, Rebecca, you have given me a lot of your time today, and I'm very, very appreciative. Is there anything that you wanna leave the audience with?
No matter how bleak things look, there's always hope. There's always somebody out there that's been through something similar. So the best help sometimes comes from somebody who's been there. So don't hesitate to reach out and try to connect with somebody else that's been through what you're going through.
You're never alone.
No,
And if they don't have insurance, there are ways to navigate.
there are. I come to find out MD Anderson is a state hospital. State hospitals are supposed to do a certain amount of no cost care.
Right. If we can get information on 'Cause there are people listening that may not have any insurance or know somebody that might not have any insurance, and they're going through some
Yeah.
battles, and I can try to leave a link to
Yeah.
info for that as well, y'all. So, again, this has been the lovely Rebecca Esparza from
Mhm.
Corpus Christi, survivor now of, in her survivorship of over 15 years, who battled cancer twice, ovarian first and then thyroid cancer, and is out there and real quick, what are the organizations that you do work with?
National Coalition for Cancer Survivorship, Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance. I've done stuff for the Society of Gynecological Oncology. I've done stuff with one of your other guests, Kimberly.
Oh, we have out of
Um,
Georgia.
yes. So
Wonderful.
I've done some research things with her and just, various different organizations here or there that reach out to me, and I'm so happy to help.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that you are so willing and able and energetic to keep doing that help and just keep doing it, keep rocking, keep motivating, keep inspiring, keep encouraging, and keep being you, dear friend, dear Teal sister. All right, y'all. This has been Till Time with Hope. Thank you, my guest, Rebecca. And Rebecca, I hope you have a beautiful new year. And if I can get out to Corpus Christi and be your drill sergeant even for one day, I will yell at you and I will make you run.
I need you, Hope. I need you to help.
Oh, if I could. Thank you again for being on the show. That's all we've got for you. Adios, amiga.
Bye, Hope.
Bye.